Before you watch this episode of our City Current radio show, I want to invite you to join City Current's e-learning and online personal development platform called Growth Current. I'm Jeremy Park, host of the City Current radio show and CEO of City Current. Growth Current is your exclusive ticket to attend virtual events with global thought leaders, national guest speakers, and experts who can help you grow personally and professionally. It gives you access to success secrets, lessons learned, learning modules, and so much more. Being online, you can join us from anywhere in the world. Subscriptions are only $8 a month, or you can do bulk subscriptions for your team. Check out growthcurrent.com to learn more and to join us in our efforts to power the good. And now, on to the show. Welcome to the City Current radio show. I'm your host, Jeremy Park. We're always honored to bring you inspiring stories of individuals and organizations out powering the good, making a difference. And with that, we're going to talk about education, the importance of pre-K, especially here with First 8 Memphis is the organization. We're joined by Dr. Kandace Thomas. She is the Executive Director of First 8 Memphis. How are you doing, Kandace?
I'm good. Thank you. How are you doing?
Doing well. So love talking about education. Obviously, it's a critically important topic here for our community when you talk about what education means in terms of not just workforce development, talent development, obviously education in of itself, but education is one of those indicators when you talk about a city's success because it relates to crime prevention and so much more. So let's dive in, give us some context, relatively new organization, but give us a little bit of a history lesson for First 8 Memphis.
Yeah, you're right. It is a really new organization. We're about a year old, but I came on board in April as the first executive director of the organization. And it was really founded to really bring together all of the early childhood efforts happening in Shelby County and having one organization who's sort of overseeing or helping to facilitate and convene early childhood practitioners, researchers, teachers, providers, so that we're really creating a high quality early care and education system for young children.
As you can imagine, when you're talking about being a collaborator, a convener, you have a lot of different stakeholders. So talk about some of the different stakeholders and the breadth in terms of the stakeholders that you're working with.
Yeah. I mean, you can imagine it's literally everybody. You know, our most important stakeholder are young kids and their families, but early care and education involves everyone from our mayors to county commission, city council, to pre-K teachers, operators, all folks who are involved in pre-K at the local level, at the state level, folks who are involved in childcare, K-3 education, 0 to 3, any other 0 to 3 services, and people who are thinking about kids and families starting prenatally. Other constituents also include our general business and education community, all folks who care about the well-being of Shelby County and the city of Memphis. So we actually have just so many stakeholders that we're trying to reach when we're talking to different people about early care and education.
So the name itself, First 8 Memphis, 0 to 8 in terms of the age group that you're working with and focusing on. You mentioned third grade, and that's a pivotal moment in a child's education success. So talk about in terms of why the focus on that 0 to 8 and then that third grade, and then we'll dive into all the pre-K. So talk about the importance though on that end.
I mean, hopefully a lot of people know that there's been so much research done to tell us that really the first 3 years of a child's life matters most in terms of their brain development. And then there's been a lot of research that shows that what happens when a child first enters school, so that may be pre-K or kindergarten, and what we see happening in third grade can set the trajectory for a child's long-term outcome. So really all of that to say is our best bet and our biggest investment should start early and happen early so that we see all kids across our community doing well as they get older.
Yeah, and it goes back to that phrase of at first you're learning to read, and then after the third grade, you're reading to learn. And so it really is that pivotal moment.
Yeah. Exactly.
Talk about pre-K though, because this right now is a huge initiative that you're undertaking and getting the word out. We'll talk about that, but talk about the importance of pre-K. I mean, to your point, everyone hopefully understands, but hit them hard with why pre-K matters.
Yeah. So, for a lot of families, pre-K is the first time that their child may be in a group setting with other kids, with non-family or neighbor adults. So pre-K really is an opportunity for a child to learn, what is it like to be in a group setting? What is it like to listen to this adult give me instructions on what to do, what to look at, how to engage other kids? It's an opportunity for kids to develop their social emotional skills, their executive functioning skills, which meaning like them thinking about what is it they have to do to get something done, basically. And so pre-K is really the beginning of the building blocks for a lot of kids and families for kindergarten. And the hope is that pre-K is just the opportunity for kids to be exposed so that when they start kindergarten the next year, they start K ready.
I know that tied in with this obviously is the school systems, also organizations like Porter Leaf. Talk about specifically when it comes to the pre-K, some of the collaborators on that side.
Yeah, all of those school systems are essential to this work. So, obviously our largest collaborators are Shelby County Schools, all of the municipal schools in the area, and Porter Leaf. And really everyone, all of the pre-K operators are really central to this, to pre-K overall, and to First State Memphis's pre-K program. So we do partner really closely with all of the pre-K operators. But yeah, you hit it on the head. Porter Leaf is a key partner. Shelby County Schools is a key partner.
Part of that too for families is, especially when you look at organizations like Porter Leaf, it's not only the rigor of the instruction and the teaching and that the child is able to access, it's also too healthy meals and nourishment. And so there's kind of a support layer of just making sure that the family and the kids are taken care of, even outside of the education, which I think is really important too.
Yeah, I always say to people that a child can't do well in pre-K if they're not eating, if they haven't had a few nourishing meals. Especially right now, a child can't log on if their electricity is out, or they don't have access to the internet, or if they don't have the social emotional supports that they need. So without all of those things are sort of the building blocks so a child can do well in pre-K. So really pre-K, like doing well in pre-K, is the result of meals, strong parent-child or caregiver attachment. Right now, making sure that a child and the family has everything that they need so they can get on the internet, so that they can be connected to their teachers or wraparound providers, that they have stable housing, a stable family life, whatever that means for the family. All of that, if all of that is in place, then a child will do well in pre-K.
So talk about the things that you want the public to know, because one of which is the fact that registration is still open. And so making the push to get as many children enrolled in pre-K as possible and really kind of open that narrative. Talk about that, and then the other major things that you want the public to know.
Yeah, so we do right now have sort of a little public relations campaign out there just to really inform families that, yes, we are in the midst of a pandemic. Yes, there's lots going on in the world right now. And pre-K is still available for families and their young children. And so we just want families to know that pre-K is open for enrollment all year round, not just this year because of COVID-19, but that's just how pre-K operators have instituted things from the beginning. So we want families to know that they can enroll their children in pre-K at any point they're open and available. And also that for our pre-K programs, it's not just about sitting in front of a computer and engaging with a teacher. So as we just talked about, for us, we want to make sure that our kids are doing as well as possible right now. So we do partner with Porter Leaf, and others of our pre-K operators have other partners, or they do this in-house, where they provide wraparound services or comprehensive services to families reaching out to families to see what do they need, right? Like, so again, if housing is unstable, electricity, food, etc., then their kid is not going to be able to engage in pre-K. So we do have a whole host of other services available to make sure that families have what they need so that their kids can do well in pre-K when they're ready.
How can we help? Obviously, as you mentioned, being a kind of a public relations campaign, just helping to spread the word and get the word out. So that's one way people can help. But talk about either financial contributions. What are some other ways that we can help?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so we just want to get the word out so that all families know that, first of all families, regardless of income, pre-K is important to every single one of us, every single one of our families. What First State is working on is working towards the mayor's vision of universal needs-based pre-K. And we also know that there are other leaders in the community that want universal pre-K for every single child. And the needs-based pre-K just means that pre-K is free for those families who qualify. So one, we just want to get the word out that pre-K is great for every single student in the community, and especially for those students who are eligible because of financial circumstances. Second, right now we're in we're in this pandemic, which none of us have ever lived through before. So if there are families or businesses that are able to provide funding for devices, for Wi-Fi, I think headsets, things of that sort, those donations would be helpful either to First State Memphis or obviously to our pre-K operators. A lot of teachers and our students need extra support this year. So if there were to be some sort of fundraising effort or donations for social services, social work, just a place for teachers, pre-K operators, and families to call when they're having a hard time in this moment during a pandemic and a really hard year, those kinds of donations would definitely be welcomed.
What's something for you? And I know you mentioned kind of stepping on in April and, really in the middle of a pandemic. And so, and you're in kind of jumping in feet first, but what's something that you've learned in this process that you think coming out of this is going to make First State Memphis stronger?
Yeah. So we have made some adjustments to our pre-K program this year as compared to last year. And initially our adjustments were to make sure that kids and families had what they needed this year. And as we started making the adjustments, it was like, wait a minute, these adjustments like family assessment tools, making sure that teachers have what they need so that they are running a high quality pre-K classroom. We need to do this regardless of COVID. This is something that we should do all the time. So we've had some really important conversations with pre-K providers and made some adjustments this year to pre-K that we really do hope will live going forward, including the possibility of some pre-K students and families being virtual. Like after this year, who knows what's going to happen? And so we are beginning to think about and being open to, well, what happens if a portion of our families, even when we have a COVID vaccine and people are more out and about, we may still have families who say, I'm not quite sure about this. I want to keep my child home. So there are some other programmatic adjustments that are being made so that we can accommodate all sorts of families and circumstances. So I think this will set us up for success in the long term.
What would your words of encouragement be in terms of the community coming together and rallying and being able to make a difference? So in other words, how do you see this in terms of, through your eyes, of just the potential to be able to create something special, do something special? So what would your words of encouragement be for our community?
Well, we are in a really difficult time, but a really hopeful time. This is an opportunity for us to think about how do we make sure that all families are doing as well as possible right now. And so it's up to every single one of us, whether or not we have young children in our homes or not, to be checking in on neighbors, to see if neighbors need any help, especially those who are homeschooling or schooling at home right now because of COVID. And this is also an opportunity for us to think big. So we've had a major transition in our whole globe around education, being around people. And so this gives us a chance to think about, well, what if? What can we reimagine? Can we reimagine schools and social services? Can we reimagine what a family needs to be well? What does childcare mean? What does high quality services mean for kids and families? So it's a hard time, but it's such an opportunity for imagination, for strategy, for thinking big for all of us in the community.
Absolutely. Wrap up and talk about website, social media. Where do we go to learn more?
Yes, so 2 places, of course, firstaidememphis.org. You can just go on our website to learn more about our organization. You know, we're a startup. Hashtag startup life is what I tell my team. So our website is developing and things are moving as we figure it out. You can also go if you're interested in, or if a family's interested in registering for pre-K, we have a new website, prekmemphis.com. So just a one-stop shop for all families. And then we're on all the social media platforms. So you can visit First Aid on Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitter, etc.
Well, Dr. Kandace Thomas, Executive Director of First Aid Memphis, thank you for all you and your team do. Greatly appreciate it. Thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you so much.